First tip I have for you is to stunt longer. Okay, so it's not just have more reps, it's about stunting longer. If you're a beginner, you have to get used to holding stunts. You have to get used to the feeling of holding a stunt, and then further and harder skills would seem easier because you're not struggling with like locking your arms out or like the strength of the stunt, because it's not really strength, it's just form, it's technique, it's getting used to what it feels like. So that's my first tip. Is holding the stunt longer. For example, if I was gonna do like a hands QP, I wouldn't just do a hands QP and just come down right away if I hit it for a split second. My goal, personally, would be a hands QP, and then I'd hold it. I'd hold for at least like 5, 8 seconds. And that just gets your body so much more used to the form of it, and it helps you learn a lot faster. Because if I did hands QP like 5 times, it's the same thing as holding a hands QP for 8 seconds. So it just saves time and it helps you progress faster. All right, for step two, all it is when you're in the weight room and you're trying to work out to get better at stunting. It's a great thing. You want to, any type of workout is going to help you get better at stunting. But what I used to do a lot is if I wanted to learn a new skill, like for example, a QP popover is what I used to practice all the time. So it's when you switch your arms, okay? And so what I would do is I'd be in the weight room and I have a dumbbell. So it's like a curling dumbbell. You know, I don't have it with me right now, but there's a weight on each end of it and there's a handle right in the middle. So I wouldn't hold it by the handle. I mean, I'd try that. I'd hold it right here and get really used to that. But I would grab it on the side that I had to balance it. So it'd be sitting vertical. And then I'd held it here and make sure I was stable. Obviously, you have to do this when you're by yourself and there's no one else around you to like hurt you until you get really used to it, okay? Really, you should never do it when there's other people around you. But you're holding it here and you're used to it. Now, I want you to be careful when you do this because you want to go up and hold it here and just tighten your arm as tight as you can and really squeeze the weight and practice balancing. Okay, so that's gonna help you before you actually have a person's life in your hands. So you practice balancing and you squeeze as tight as you can and you're holding it like that. But the most important part is that you feel safe, you know? I usually use like 40, 50, 60. Sometimes I use 90s. Um, it doesn't matter what the weight is. The higher the weight, obviously, the more comfortable you should probably feel about actually doing this skill in real life. I used to do full rounds with it and stuff like that. Uh, but it's a way to work on the skill without actually having a flyer, because some days flyers aren't available. So it gives you time to work on it without actually doing it and risking someone's life, which in reality, that's what cheerleading is. Uh, but we always gotta be safe and practice before we actually perform it. But yeah, holding the weight helps a lot because it really just gets you used to what it feels like. So just make sure you're safe, and if you're scared of it falling on your face, know that if you can catch a weight, you can catch a girl. But it's something that I feel like it's necessary. If you think you can hold a girl in one arm, you should be able to hold a dumbbell in one arm. Hope that helps. Let's move on to three. So the third tip is to stop trying so hard. Stop trying. Like, I know this sounds redundant, but what I mean by that is to stop wanting skills so bad. You know, just stunt to stunt. Just stunt for the progress. Just stunt where you are and just keep working on where you are. Wherever you are, you make that the best you possibly can. You know, like, just stop wanting a skill. It's not about getting a skill. It's about getting better at where you were yesterday, you know? So just, yeah, so many people are just wanting the hand to hand or the full up or the one arm, and and they're not ready for it, and they just keep doing it over and over, and then they're getting worse form, and it's going to take them longer to get the full up. So it doesn't make sense to me. I know when I was working on my skills, I was so pumped to do a sailor, which is the thing that goes above the head and then she like rolls through. Or I would do a toss hands, or I would do a chair sit. And if I did a toss hands press extension for the crowd when I first started, I was pumped. Yo, I was like freaking out like I was the strongest dude in the gym. And I was so happy to do that. You know, I didn't care about doing a one arm at that time. You know, I progressed until I had the last thing perfect, until I had a toss hands, press extension, and it didn't feel hard. Then I'd move on to one leg. You know, so that's the way I took it, and that's the way it allowed me to progress as fast as I did. So stop wanting to hit skills, just keep stunting, and honestly, the less you care about hitting a skill, the more likely you're gonna hit it. You know, if you ever thought of that reference, it's like, you know, when you walk away from the shadow, it comes towards you, and when you walk towards it, it goes away from you. It's the same thing here. If you try to hit a stunt so bad, you're gonna get nervous and you're like so anxious to hit it, you're not gonna hit it. You know, if you actually want to hit the stunt, just stop caring. Like obviously, it's ingrained in you to catch the flyer and to try. Obviously, at that point, that is always going to be your number one concern, is to make sure the flyer is good. And but when you actually go for a skill, you can go for the skill, but stop worrying about hitting it. You know, it's just going to make you nervous. It's just going to make you anxious. It might make you do something weird, and then the stunt kind of falls weird. You might not be prepared for that. So just stop worrying about hitting the stunt, and you'll actually hit more stunts. Thank you guys so much for watching. Those are my 3 tips to progressing faster at stunting. So I hope you enjoyed, and peace out.